just in with a Woody. Those was crazy.
So yeah, what I was saying is that in a lot of situations, you know, the females from the 60s going forward to a little bit to the 80s or a different breed of females. And no offense to the, you know, newer generation and so forth, but I guess they called us the Generation X.
Generation
X.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, that generation of females, when the man left the house, a lot of them didn't reach out to the state or anything for help. They was like, I don't even want no help from the man. And the reason for that I can say that is because I'm a product of my environment. You know what I mean? My mom's was a single mother from...
By choice or by circumstance or situation?
By circumstance, situation. So, and you know, my dad and my mom's, when they separated, it's not my place to tell details as far as what transpired, right? But it wasn't beneficial to my mom's, regardless of the situation that was going down. But because my mom's was a single mother and she was always working multiple jobs to try to take care of us, she was raising us, right? But she wasn't raising us like little girls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? No offense to anybody, don't take it anyway. But she wasn't raising us like little girls where it's like, mommy. It was like, nah. You need to learn how to grind. You need to learn how to hustle. Stop being a little baby. You know, we got the legits. And even though my dad wasn't together with my mom's, you know, we still had a relationship with my dad. My mom's never kept us away from my dad. The only individual that kept my dad away from us at times was my stepmother.
Okay. That happens a lot. Because out of sight, out of mind, children are a nuisance when they're finally inside.
Yeah, and she did not like us. Like, the lady did not like us. She did a lot. That's another thing we'll talk about in another show about bad stepmothers. Because of her, you know, me and my younger siblings don't even talk. It's just another long story. But it didn't affect me the way that it affected other people, you know, the way it affected me, because my mom's didn't, you know, and I'm not saying that if my mom's wasn't working the way that she was, because realistically, I don't know, because that didn't transpire, you know what I mean? But say if she wasn't working the way that she was, you know, would she had, you know, how I say, created me in a different fashion, right, where I was act like a whiner, you know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, that's not how my dad and my mom put it to me. It's like, yo, grind, don't depend on anybody, depend on yourself, you know. So I had that mentality. The only thing that it did affect me was I would see my friends, right, because the number, it was a weird number back in the day, right? It'd be like, I felt like it was 1 to every 5 kids, right, that was in a single parent household, and then the other 4 kids had their mom and dad. Now it's a lot. The numbers is completely flipped. I think
it's flipped, and you have more. Me being a single man, right? You deal with women that have children, and so you might go in there. I hate to say it, but if they're over like 35, you might be lucky to catch a girl with just 2 children. They might have made a couple of mistakes. They might have 4 to 5 children, some 6 or 7, and not to say nothing to them, but you know, a lot of times people feel like, you know, we're going to be in this together. We have 2 kids in our younger 20s or something like that. Man, we find somebody else. A lot of stuff goes on this though. Women have to make better choices, because the independent woman was taught to be independent by women that weren't always independent. Because most of the time we had grandfathers or older men in every tribe. They were men. So they restrict onto what their man thing was, and women always had that guy. Remember, he's like, he's an asshole. I can't stand him. But women loved assholes. They stayed with him the whole time. But what they told their daughters were, be independent. Don't be in the same situation as I was. Don't let a man control your bank account, this, and this, and that. But they stayed. So a lot of women, when they hear independence, they're like, well, what is true independence? So
that's what they know.
They know. They didn't exercise.
They never exercised, but it's what they saw.
It's what they saw.
So even though when they told them, hey, be independent, but that's all they saw was what they did
within the relationship.
Within the relationship.
So you're still being independent, but you're still saying, I need a relationship, because it's confusing. So now the daughters, our daughters,
are going to that kind.
They want to be more aggressive. They want to say things that they want to say, and then they want to get overly sensitive and nah, listen, I got a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, 2 14-year-olds. Nothing but girls. When you talk to them, me and my oldest daughter, it's like a it's a bump head because me and her mother aren't together anymore. We weren't married. We got divorced. She went with her mother, and she thinks her mother is more right. I don't want to say nothing on that. Yeah, yes, I will. Her mother isn't always right.
Which is
but I protected,
most of the time.
But I protected her that. Yeah. So thinking that when my daughter got older, she will come to reality.
I think she will.
No, I said it will. A lot of people that
I don't know, guys.
Oh no,
because
a lot of people that I
because
tell my situation like yours, even older people, like other jobs, like I tell them everything that happens to me, like send it to you. They said, don't worry about it. Eventually, the kids will grow up.
Well, we're talking about a 21-year-old now. That's a grown-up.
And
right?
they will grow up and they'll see who did right, who did wrong, and they said, right now, my daughter or my son don't even talk to their mom no more. They just talk to me because they realize who was doing right, who was wrong.
Here's the thing: when she wants to know the truth, she'll come and ask you for your side of the story.
Right.
Because if she's only listening to one side, and if she's smart, she's gonna realize, well, if I want to listen to her side, then I gotta hear his.
She got to.
So when she figures that out, she's gonna come and ask you, hey, what happened? Then she's gonna be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Okay, well, also that coincides. More likely to probably happen. The stuff that she said that's different from yours, and it's all questionable.
I'll give her one.
The truth will come out.
She did call. We were going to have this conversation. But she had more questions than she was ready for the answers. And what I mean by that...
She let you answer.
She didn't let me answer. And she didn't have them written down. You
know
what I'm saying?
So, yeah, she was just trying to... before she forgot them all.
And so you kind of like, hey, I can't answer one because you're still having more questions. So I told her, you have to relax.
Yeah.
Write these questions down. And then come at me what you really want to hear. Because if you're trying... This is 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
And your mother...
That's going to be a long story.
Time, right? So you get what I'm saying? I knew your mother... as a young 20-year-old, the 30-year-old, 25-year-old, 30-year-old, 35-year-old, 40-year-old, I don't know. Didn't know her. You get what I'm saying? So there's not good information to give her. I can only go younger age.
Yeah.
So now, beautiful girl, but I don't know if her mind is messed up, right? You know what I'm saying? But I see a lot of girls her age that they have a mentality of, I'll talk to any man anyway.
I plead the fifth.
I'll talk to any man anyway.
I plead the fifth.
Now I had to go hard on
this
Cali
new generation
with fifth pleading. So do I got to press it?
Yes. You know what? Yes. I'm sorry. Y'all new generations off the easy, bro. Like nah, bro. On some really, I honestly feel like all this new generation, and nobody take offense to it. And a lot of you might agree. Like y'all have a lot more mental issues now because our Generation X. Let's keep it real. If something was wrong with us, we were told, "Yo, go about your business, go play," and done. This generation, they go, "Oh, I feel dizzy. Oh my gosh, you got ADHD. You got this. You got that. You got that. You got that." And then they get baby. Where if it was us, we acted up in school. Nobody said we had ADHD. The teacher whooped our butts with a ruler, bro.
Yeah, they wasn't even diagnosed.
It wasn't. If you ate dirt when I was a kid, they just gave you water. You had to drink mud.
Yeah,
They make you wash your whole mouth out. Like, no, I get that mud, baby.
Vape rubbing Kool-Aid.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Damn, vape rubbing Kool-Aid.
It cures everything.
It cures everything.
Yeah.
Or I remember rub on the bottom of the feet and the back of the back. It's Caribbean stuff, man.
It get you right.
Now if a parent was to take any type of alcohol, rub it on the child because they sick, like drinking alcohol, they go to jail.
They would, yeah, because these kids are built different.
You know what I'm saying?
They'll get drunk and they'll die.
Bro.
So, like, with the mental health, I mean, you're saying you want to have, like, more than one section on this. How will you break it down to say, okay, is it... Because we got to go with... We want to say women, but we have to look deep into, say, when did the structure break down with men, right?
Well, we can't blame the woman for what's transpiring, right? Technically, what we can say is that it's up to the woman's responsibility to be... They say they want equal rights, to be equal about the situation, right? So if they're sitting there and they saying, hey, we want this equal, we want this equal, we want this equal, then what's so equal about allowing the system to rape or take your ex's 60% of the income, then leaves them only 40%, then expects for that individual to still pick up the child, feed the child, take the child on events and so forth, and then turn around, pay his rent, pay his utilities and so forth. And then if the parent can't do any of that, then the other parent, and this is where I mean that some of y'all females need to do better, instead of, y'all know what's transpiring, so instead of being like, hey, the reason why your dad can't do this or can't do this is because this, if you're going to take the money, keep it real.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't take the money and then be half-assed about it. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to be that parent and you're going to take the money, keep that shit 100 with your child. Don't sit there and make the child think that the dad's a bad person or vice versa, that the mother's a bad person if you're taking money. Right. Let that child know, yo, I am getting money, but it's so much money, it makes it impossible for the other parent to do anything. Yes. And the fact that a lot of these parents are going to the extent to doing it, y'all sitting there like, oh yeah, I'm getting back at him because, or I'm getting back at her because she left me with the kid, or because it didn't work out. No, it would have been worse on the child for y'all to stay together. So you should be happy that the separation took part. But then, as a as female, me saying y'all need to do better. Y'all not only are you affecting the men, vice versa if it's a man doing a female, but you're affecting the other parent mentally because you put them in such of a stress. That's why you got so many of them out there killing themselves or turning around and killing their ex or so forth, because they're put into such a financial stress. And then if they don't pay it, the court system throws them in jail, suspends their driver's license, freeze their bank accounts. So if you're doing all these things, that, if you think about it, the system's purposely doing all these things to put that other individual into hardship, so they have a reason to arrest them. Because let's keep it real. If you arrest somebody that stays, these days, it doesn't matter how simple it is. Once you put a record on them, you technically, you might as well call them a slave.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in some countries, some states in the United States right now, it's still legal to have slaves as long as they have a record. And that was on some of the ballots that was just recent that they had yesterday. Yeah, so at the end of the day, you're hurting the other parent, but now you're mentally hurting. This is where the mental wealth come in at, right?
Yeah, that was going to ask you that.
You're hurting the parent, the other parent, so now you messing the other parent mind up. They can't think properly. They can't work properly. They can't keep a job because they stressed out because if I miss a day, I won't be able to this. They're going to come lock me up. And now they're not mentally there, and before they know it, everything goes downhill. Then you have the child where you're messing the child up mentally because now the child is there like, I want to see my dad, I want to see my mom. But guess what? Mom and dad can't even come see them because they got no gas money to put in the vehicle to come pick them up, or their driver's license is suspended. And guess what? Then he takes that opportunity and he's like, you know what, I'm going to take the chance even though my license is suspended and go pick up that child. And then the other parent calls the cop like, oh, he's driving without a suspended license. And then guess what? Now the kid is messed up because the kid pulls up, the dad pulls up or the mother pulls up, and then that parent gets arrested in front of the kid. Yeah. So now the kid is confused because the kid is like, hey, why are you arresting my dad for? But then the court system turns around and it tells you like, hey, you're not allowed to tell your kid what we're doing to you.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. The kid he doesn't need to know anything. But the other parent could tell the other kid everything they want, and it's not an issue. So there's definitely an unfairness, but y'all parents out there that's doing this, y'all hurting the kids more because the kids are seeing this, and then what ends up happening is that these kids, when they get older and they start to come into realization of what's transpiring, they're going to end up hating you.
Yeah.
It might be 40, it might be 20, it might be 30 years down the line. But if that kid has any type of common sense, and when they get older and they start looking into the situation and be like, yo, why my dad wasn't able to pick me up? Why my mom wasn't able to pick me up? Why they wasn't able to do this? Why they wasn't able to do this? But this parent was able to do everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to keep it number one. And the reason why I can vouch for this is because my 16-year-old daughter came to me, right? Okay. A little bit over 2 years ago, right? And she says to me, she goes, yeah, Mommy got over $5,000 in the child support account. And I'm like, oh, wow, really? I was like, so she's not using the money? Oh, well, she doesn't need to because she makes so much money as an RN. And I was like, well, that's good that she's at least putting the money aside to save for you and so forth. But then she turns around and gives $5,000 to her boyfriend.
Wow.
And they break up and he runs off with the money. So my hard-earned money, right, that's supposed to go to my kids, end up going to a boyfriend that supposedly was supposed to do work in a house, which, will, like, whatever. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean, for the fact that she was bragging to my daughter about taking my money. That just shows you that a lot of these parents don't care how they're affecting their children mentally. It's all about revenge or getting back or some. It's some type of agenda, but it's affecting the kids. And then at the end of the day, you see what I'm saying? If you're sitting with that much money and you're taking so much money from the other individual, and it's putting the other individual in any type of financial situation, right? You really need to go back and look at yourself, and really look at yourself. And if you really love your children, look at the damages that you're doing to your children when y'all people out here doing this. Because right now, the suicide rate on children is through the roof. And guess, let's take a guess. The majority percent of the children that's doing it,
they live with who, Steve?
Their mothers.
Okay, Steve.
Their mothers. They're receiving child support, food stamps, the whole 9 yards. Hey, my ex-wife, and I'm just being real. She went on when we went our separate ways, right? She didn't want to give me my divorce because she didn't want to break up, right? But she was physically abusive, and she, made a lot of false lies, false allegations to come at me. I have, like I said, I have receipts, or I wouldn't say.
So we got to talk about that one.
We got to talk about it. We definitely.
The abuse of women to the men.
Yes, we definitely need to come back on that. So we went we went our separate ways at the end of the day. We did go our separate ways, but she didn't want to separate, so she wouldn't give me a divorce. So because at the time before she became RN, she was a paralegal, head paralegal at her job in Tampa before she had dipped out. But she was the head paralegal, so she knew the legal system. So she purposely wouldn't give me my divorce, but she got the child support system to put me on child support, and they did put me on child support, but wouldn't give me my divorce. So I had to be married for a chick for 4 years after separation. While paying child support, she wouldn't give me my divorce. She turned around and sold the house, short sold the house, so that way I wouldn't get no money at the house. Half the stuff in the house was supposed to go 50-50, which majority of stuff I purchased, but she turned around and took everything in the house, left the TV, a bed, and the Nintendo Wii. That's it.
That wasn't no fun.
She took everything out of the house. Then to top it off, some of her friends stole some of my stuff. But you know what? The reason why I'm saying this because this is where it affected me mentally.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here like, what the hell's going on? Why am I being mistreated? Why I'm not the one that at the end of the day messed up? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we separated, but let's keep it real. The reason why we separated is because of your behavior, not mine. So now I'm being punished, and the system helped her turn around and punish me. So the system, now even though she was making nearly 6 figures a year as a paralegal, right? The system turned around and allowed her to put me on child support, paid for her to go to school. How did the system pay for somebody to go to school that's making nearly a 6 income? And I wasn't even working at the time. I just got out of the motorcycle accident. The job fired me. And bro, you know what they hit me so hard with back child support and every excuse and everything. And then to top it off, I was paying for the vehicle that she was driving.
So you was getting it off. And that can make somebody mentally.
It mentally jacked me up because you know what?
Yeah.
It jacked me up so bad. And I was holding it in for a minute. And then it was about 2012, 2013, I started noticing symptoms of my PTSD, right? I didn't know it was PTSD at the time.
Right.
But when I had the first major panic attack and I couldn't move, I felt nauseous. It was some crazy stuff, and I thought I was gonna die because I never felt like that before. So I'm like, yeah, he's coming for me. I'm not ready. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I was in a motorcycle accident and you didn't take me and you're taking me now. You know what I'm saying? And that's how my brain was going. It had me tripping. And then I later on told, no, you got PTSD. So she contributed. Right? She contributed to that panic attack. I already had PTSD from the military, not knowing. Right. But she was a trigger that caused the boom, the final boom. With that being said, right, I ate that, you know what I mean? I went about my business. They still wouldn't, they milked me. I'm talking about to the point of they're going to put in a war want to have me arrested for not paying child support, which was BS. They tried suspending my driver's license. They freezing my bank accounts. I'm talking about they've done everything in the world to destroy me. It even went to a point that this year, as I'm a disabled vet. I'm not working, like I said, I'm a disabled vet. A job that I worked at over 2 years ago, Department of Revenue sent them a letter stating that, hey, deduct money from his paycheck. Why would y'all send that to an old employer that I no longer work at? What it is that they was trying to embarrass me because I embarrassed the Department of Revenue person in the courtroom because she lied about something, and I embarrassed her and I tricked her. So they turned around. Come on, they sent out some nasty, like, come on. So now you're gonna try to go to my old employer and try to embarrass me sneakily. Right. So I looked into the situation. Guess what?
Same person?
No. You can't even sue them.
No, right.
They're allowed to make mistakes like that and embarrass you and do stuff like get away with it. So then you talk about, so what happens to me now? My mental is messed up even more.
Double messed up.
So
triple ring.
And this is where I'm coming from. All these little things that's being done, all it's doing is contributing to destroying
and
the mental.
protects them from it.
Exactly.
And that's
it's crappy.
Yeah.
And then it trickles down to the child, that's where the big pain comes in. When it trickles down to the child, now you have a child that's sitting there, because you got to think about it. When you were a child, right? If you're not physically told, like, yo, this is what's going on, you make your own conclusion on why it's going on. And the way that we, people as children think, right, is that when you see something going on, you're not Sherlock. Not every kid is Sherlock Holmes. Like my 16-year-old daughter, she break it down, boom, 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 boom. No, she's even confronted her mom and like, yo, the reason why my dad can't take care of us is because of the fact that you're taking all his money. That's what she said to her mama. You see what I'm saying? You need to be more kids like that out there that's defending the other parent when they know that the other parent's doing wrong. But
kids getting beat up.
Yeah, and that's true.
Yeah.
But long story short, it affects the children. Because now the ones that don't know how to stand up for themselves, now they got in their head that, oh, it's crappy here. I don't ever get to see my dad, or I don't ever get to see my mom, and da 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 da. And it's a consistent depressing situation. And now you go from having, I think I'm giving my child, and he wants every video game, da 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 da, and you're buying everything for that child because you're trying to buy that love for the child because you know what you're doing to the other parent is wrong. But what you end up doing is now you're creating a monster for the world. And then eventually what that monster ends up doing is one or two things: causing more destruction in the world or killing themselves.
Destruction and death.
So my question, right, for all of you parents out there that are the primary custodial parent, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing as a custodial parent? Because if you're a parent, you're not the only parent. Are you going out your way to make sure that the other parent is being able to see that child? Are you being vindictive, that you're practically doing things to hurt the other parent? You know what I mean? These things you shouldn't be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, don't play that game with the other parent where, I'm going to get them back at this, because guess what? When you play tips and tabs, right, that's all you do, tips and tabs, right?
Maybe we can touch on this next time to see how we could respond as men, because when we're younger, we do respond off of like that.